Hello, my name is John Brink. We are on the podcast from On the Brink, and we are podcasting from downtown Prince George. And as you can see behind me, we are now in about mid-January, and we had already quite a winter here, and things are melting a bit. But it's the Prince George. For those of you that are not familiar with Prince George, it is in central British Columbia, and it's the capital of northern BC. At least that's how we refer to it. So my guest today is an interesting fellow. His name is Tim Bennett. He is the executive director of the, correct me if I'm wrong, is the Big Brothers and Big Sisters.
Yeah, Big Brothers, Big Sisters.
Big Sisters. And he has been involved in a number of community things. So it's going to be very, very interesting. So Tim, welcome to the show.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for having me. And I was just listening to the episode that you did last with Judy, and it was like minus 30 outside.
I know.
It's crazy how much of a winter we've had so far.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Are you from the area here, or?
Yeah. So I was born in Williams Lake.
In Williams Lake, yeah.
So I mean, I call myself raised and Prince George proud. We moved here just before I turned 5 and have been here ever since. And graduated from School District 57 and have spent my entire life, most of my entire life here in the community.
Yeah, and then so you graduated here in Prince George, and then what did you do after that?
Yeah, so after graduation, I went off to UNBC, and I started kind of a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science.
Right.
And did that for a couple of years, and then was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with a political science degree.
Right.
I loved it, but I was just trying to think what my future held in store. So I switched over to marketing. Yeah. And then
So you took a program that shifted over to the marketing side then?
Yeah, I was able to then use most of my political science credits towards what I was hoping to be my marketing degree.
Right.
And then my parents separated, and then my mom got quite sick. So I ended up stopping going to school and went to work full time so that I could support my mom and my younger brother.
Yeah.
And then at that point, I went over to work with Tracey Calageros.
Your mom okay now?
She is okay, yeah.
Okay.
I went over and worked with Tracey Calageros and the team over at Expiration Place.
Who was that?
Tracey over at the museum.
Yeah. Tracey
Calageros.
Yeah, I know her quite well, yeah.
Yeah, so I went and worked at the museum.
And the museum is just for the people that are not familiar with the area, the museum is in Fort George, or the Tenay Park, and it is the museum for the region of all the things that are going on here?
Yeah, so it is kind of the history of the region, and as well they run childcare and have the hands-on science center aspect, and they're actually going through a massive renovation right now. So
making it bigger?
I think just updating what they have to offer. So it is.
Did they have a fire?
No, well, they may have at one point, not recently.
No, okay.
But it was. So I had the opportunity to work there, and I primarily worked in their daycare.
Yeah.
And then I actually worked for Active Support Against Poverty, and I ran a youth summer camp. So for kids who couldn't afford to go to camp, we ran a summer camp for kids. So I was working 2 jobs and working to support my mom and my brother, and then I had the opportunity to apply and work at Big Brothers Big Sisters doing their marketing and fundraising. Yeah.
So when was that?
2006.
Now, I don't want to put you on the spot, but you kind of, I've known about you. We don't know each other very close, but I've known about you, and you're still pretty young.
I am. I turned 36 next month.
Okay, and so you started with Big Brothers Big Sister. You were not even 20.
I would have turned 20 my first year there.
Yeah.
So again, at the time, the executive director, Sandy Whitwam, took a chance on this 20-year-old who was trying to balance school and life and supporting family. To come in and run their marketing and fundraising. Right. And I started there in 2006 and I've been there ever since.
Now tell me, and for the public that is listening, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, what is it all about?
So the idea is we are a mentoring organization that primarily matches adults in the community with children and youth who could benefit from having a mentor.
Okay.
So, if you think about historically, Big Brothers Big Sisters was all about supporting single family parents.
Yeah.
But as things evolve, sometimes, mom may start dating or maybe stepdad is in the house.
Yeah.
That doesn't stop the need from these child from needing another mentor in their life.
Yeah, that has been around for a long time in different forms, right?
It has. Big Brothers Big Sisters has been in Canada since 1913.
Right.
In Prince George, we've been here since 1979.
Yeah.
And we just continue to evolve to meet the needs of the community. So now it's about just providing kids with mentors who could benefit from having that additional adult in their life.
So go the next step, more or less.
Yeah.
Not only just at the time that they are without a parent or one of their parents, but go beyond that.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is just about teaching and giving kids the opportunity to learn new skills, to build relationships with a positive adult model.
Right.
Sometimes,
life skills.
We also have really took a focus on, we know when we teach a youth a new skill, it builds their self-confidence, their self-esteem. So we've developed local programs that we call Connect. And the idea is not only to connect kids with adults, but to connect them with opportunities to learn new skills. Right. So right now we're running one, it's Connect Cross Country Skiing. So we are taking all of the kids and the mentors out to Otway once a week for them
one of the skiing hills locally.
Yeah. A beautiful, beautiful facility.
Yeah, it sure is.
To learn how to cross country ski.
Right.
Another one that we're starting soon is, we're very fortunate in Prince George to have a ski hill in town, out at the Heart.
Yeah.
So we're taking kids and mentors out to the Heart ski hill twice a week to learn how to snowboard.
Wow.
And through some amazing community partners, have been able to purchase snowboards and bindings and all the equipment that the kids will need so that they can participate. And what the kids are also going to be surprised with early on is that they'll get a pass for the rest of the season so they can go out and continue to practice.
Now, the reason that you became involved with the Big Brothers Big Sisters, were you involved in it as a child, as a big brother, if you wish, or big sister?
I wasn't, but growing up, I recognize the incredible important role that mentors played in my life.
Right.
So if you look at all the kind of the history and the data of how youth are supposed to succeed, if you look at all that data, I shouldn't be where I am today.
Right.
Right. Being an Indigenous youth. There's only a 15-year age difference between me and my parents. Right. My parents had me, when they were quite young. Yeah. I grew up well below the poverty line. Those are all factors of this youth should not succeed. Right. My parents got me involved in scouting at a very young age, and I grew up in the scouting movement. And I had some... In Prince George. Yeah. And I had some incredible leaders who pushed me, sometimes probably harder than I wanted to be pushed. Which was substantially beneficial to you, right? Yeah. For me personally, in hindsight at the time, I was like, what am I doing? Right. Am I really enjoying myself? Yeah. But in hindsight, it was that motivation. It was them seeing something in me that I may not have necessarily seen in myself at 10 or 11. Right. And it was really scouting that kind of gave me that, the sense of I need to be able to give back to my community. That triggered something, that right? That triggered. Yeah. So probably one of my first projects, and it's the one that, sometimes my name still is attached to, is when I was 14, I organized a Christmas seniors dinner here in Prince George, and it ran for 10 years. And we provided dinner to 170 or 125 seniors each year. Yeah. Who we would make sure they could get to and from. We would
And seniors meant?
Anyone over the age of 55.
55, yeah.
We kind of put the stipulation that at that point, we didn't want someone who was living in like an assisted living. Like we were focusing on seniors who were living on their own.
Right.
And, it was St. Giles, the church up by the hospital, opened up their building for us.
Yeah.
And again, in hindsight, it's crazy to think that we had, upwards of 75 local businesses who gave gifts and money and all of this stuff to a 14-year-old to...
I'm sure we were involved in that in some form.
And I think so.
Yeah.
Right? And I think, it was...
And you were 14 at the time?
I was 14 at the time when I started this.
Yeah. So where did it all come from then? Did you get the idea or...
So it started with... I was very close to my grandma.
Yeah.
So this is my mom's mom, and my mom's in grade 10 when I was born.
Yeah.
So it was my grandmother who raised me, who
was very dominant in your...
very big part of my life.
Yeah.
She moved to Prince George when I was 10, and I was sitting there reading, we were reading the newspaper, getting ready to play cards one night.
Yeah.
And there were all these things and ads for things that were happening for seniors.
Yeah.
And I kind of made a joke of like, hey, you're going to be really busy this Christmas. And she's like, well, no, those are all for seniors who don't live on their own. That live in an assisted living.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, well, that sucks. And, I stewed on that idea for a little bit. And I went to a couple of my friends who, we're still really good friends today. And I said, hey, we should do this. This is, and they're like, they're very much kind of the same mindset, and let's see what we can do. So I went to some adults in my life, some of my mentors, some of my scout leaders, and said, hey, this is what we're thinking. And honestly, at the time, they're like, they tried to be like, it's a lot of work. This is everything we have to try to do. Yeah. And kind of hoping that it would come to the realization of this might be more than I can pull off. Right. But I took their positive, let's do it as, okay, we're going to do this. Yeah. And again, it was a lot of cold calling, and at that year, the Spruce Kings donated their bus and went and picked up seniors from their home. My mom and my aunt and a couple other, adults in scouting, they went and they made handmade corsages or boutonnieres so that every guest when they came got a flower. Yeah. And everyone came, they had dinner, they got a gift, we sang some carols, and then they went home. And that's actually, that was my first time meeting Shirley Bond. Yeah. As she volunteered, and her husband Bill, came and washed dishes for us. Yeah, yeah. And as I said, the dinner ended up going for from 2000 to 2009. In 2005, I stepped away from kind of the coordinator role. Yeah. And turned it over to the next generation of scouts. Yeah. Who came in and took over. And then in 2009, my grandmother passed away. Yeah. And it was, it came suddenly. It really hit our family hard. Yeah. And at that point, it was like we did not have the capacity to continue planning at that point. Yeah. We were going to put the dinner on hold for a year. But one of the things that really happened was now all of a sudden, all of these other events started happening. Yeah. Over the years, people started to notice that gap that we had identified. Yeah. And there were now more than enough events that, we kind of worked ourselves out of the need to do an event. Yeah, yeah. And that's probably how I got the passion for doing the work I'm doing as well in getting into fundraising. Yeah. It's not an easy job. It's not one that people love. But starting at 14, could go and start knocking on companies' doors to say, this is my crazy project. Yeah. Are you interested? Yeah. And it just... Ever since then, I've just really fallen in love with how generous our community is. Yeah. And have seen firsthand time and time again that no matter what is going on, yourself or other members of the community just step up to make sure that what needs to get done gets done.
Yeah, and Prince George has a reputation for that, right? In particular. So then you got into Big Brothers Big Sisters. They hired you on, and at that point you were 19.
19 going on 20.
Yeah, and in a position of being first a member, right? And did you have a title then? Of
yeah, so I was at that point, I think my title was like Community Development Coordinator.
Right.
So my job was to do marketing, fundraising, and plan special events.
Yeah. I would say the title kind of implies to me everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, more or less.
I always joke that the job descriptions are written in pencil so that they can get erased and just keep added to as things progress.
Yeah. So and obviously you were doing quite a job there. You did that I
did that till, in 2011, 2012, our executive director of the day went on maternity leave. And I was hired to be the interim executive director.
Right.
So I did that for a year, and then she came back. So I went back into my fundraising marketing role.
Yeah.
And then in 2013, I was hired to be the executive director.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that. I can't believe it's already been 8 years.
Yeah. And you did that until October 2020.
Yeah, I'm still there as executive director. Things shifted a little bit in October, but again, I'm still there. My title now is like executive director / CEO.
Yeah.
Just as we continue to grow as an organization.
Yeah.
We're now expanding throughout northern BC, and my role has evolved a little bit as well.
So is it an organization in transition then?
I would say we are an organization in transition is probably a good word for it.
Right.
I think like everyone, COVID has played its own set of challenges to the organization. We're an organization that's about bringing people together.
Yeah. And
all of a sudden, for the last 2 and a bit years, we've had to try to keep people apart.
Yeah.
We're also expanding throughout the north. So we have programming happening in Prince Rupert. We're working in Valemount.
So were there not organizations like that there in a lot of the communities?
No, there's a shocking lack of youth support programming throughout northern BC.
Yeah.
And so if you were to draw a line across BC at Prince George, like we like to say that we're the north, but as you know, we're kind of the geographical middle.
Yeah, we are.
There was nothing north of us.
No.
There was a huge demand.
Yeah.
So we finally were in a position that we were said, okay, you know what, we think we can tackle this demand, but we wanted to do so in a sustainable way.
Yeah.
As you know, like business, you don't want to go into a community and then 6 months down the road be like, well, I can't keep our doors open.
No, that doesn't work. That's not good.
And we don't want to expand and then jeopardize our operations here either.
No.
So we're taking it slow. We're working in Valemount right now, and we're working in Prince Rupert. And it is an exciting time for our agency. We were over the last, I kind of use the stats of when I took over as executive director in 2013. We were at that point serving about 135 kids. Yeah. We were around about a $300,000 budget. Yeah. This year our budget's $1.3 million. And we're hoping to work with between 500 and 600 kids here in Prince George.
In Prince George alone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And where is there government funding of some sort, or? So
we get money from BC Gaming. So the provincial government gives a percentage of gaming revenues to nonprofits. Yeah. So we get about, this year we got $135,000. So about 10% of our budget comes from BC Gaming. The rest is generated through. So in kind of one of the things that we talk about a lot at Big Brothers is, the work that we do with kids. And many people, when they think of Big Brothers Big Sisters, we used to have the partnership with Value Village. We used to have the thrift store that is now where the new police station is. We were known for many years as Big Brothers Big Sisters, the organization that takes your used clothes, used furniture.
Yeah.
And that's how people knew us. And in 2007, the city came to us and said, we need this land for the new police station. The thrift store had to close. And at that time, the economy was really good. And we could not find anywhere in downtown Prince George to move the thrift store to that we could afford.
Yeah.
So the board of the day and executive director of the day made the decision to close the thrift store, and we would look for our new opportunity. Then the recession in 2010 hit, and we were struggling, and we were able to, in kind of consultation with our executive director, I kind of said, hey, going back to my roots at Expiration Place, have we thought about childcare?
Yeah.
Not only is it a way to raise money for the organization, but it connects back to why we do what we do.
Yeah.
We are here to provide
support.
Positive support to kids.
Yeah.
Let's be known as Big Brothers Big Sisters, the organization that works with kids.
Yeah.
Not Big Brothers Big Sisters, the organization that takes the clothes you don't want.
Right.
So in 2010, we opened our first childcare. We now have 5 after-school care centers and 1 preschool. And our childcare program generates about half of our annual budget in a year.
Oh, wow. Very significant.
Yeah. And then the rest of it is generated through grants, through fundraising, through kind of everything that we're doing to help raise money as an organization.
Yeah.
We've also made the commitment that, for example, if somebody, we did a golf tournament in Prince Rupert.
Yeah.
We made that commitment that the money that's raised in Prince Rupert stays to support Prince Rupert kids. And it's the same thing here. We have donors who donate here in Prince George that are specifically earmarking it money for Prince George programs.
Yeah.
So we're very fortunate that we have such amazing community support year after year.
Yeah.
And we're able to continue to grow and kind of take on these new opportunities at a time where a lot of organizations in our sector are struggling a bit.
Well, yeah.
But saying that, it also puts a lot of pressure on my team who, each year we are striving to raise more money or do bigger things than we did the year before. So I talk about the exciting growth and transition, but we're also trying to slow it down a bit to make sure that what we're doing is sustainable.
Yeah. And then have you ever thought about going back to, selling clothes or unused clothes? Or, I hate to use the word used, but, and furniture, or is that not something that...
I think we are one of, if not the only Big Brothers in BC who is not doing that.
Right.
At times it's tempting because we still, despite the thrift store closing in 2007, we still probably get a call a day to the office being like,
I would think so.
Yeah, are you here? We spent so many years drilling that message into people's head.
Well, exactly.
I don't think, as I look, since the thrift store closed, we have some amazing community partners who have filled that void.
Yeah.
I look at the work that Hospice is doing with their thrift store. They just opened a second location.
Yeah.
Donna and Amanda and the team there are finding new and innovative ways to bring traffic to a thrift store, which is great.
Yeah.
And I think if we're seeing even the trends on social media now about, the Facebook buy and sell and people are finding different outlets for their clothes. And I think we're happy to let those who are doing it now continue to do it.
Right.
And we are going to focus on what we're good at, and that's providing programs to kids.
Okay. And in terms of structure or governance, do you have a board of directors, or how does it work?
We do. So we have a board of 10.
Yeah.
We have, and again, as we continue to expand, so most of our directors are here in Prince George.
Yeah.
We have one director who's out in Prince Rupert.
Yeah.
And our board is a good diverse mix of people in the community.
Right.
I would say, as it's funny saying this because, I'm talking about my boss, but at times, it's my board lets me get away with some pretty crazy ideas at times.
Right.
I take them an idea and they're good at pushing back and being like, have you thought of this? Have you thought of that?
Yeah.
But I have an incredibly supportive board who really believes in what we're doing, and most of the time lets us take our crazy ideas and try to run with them.
Yeah, and then also the Big Brothers Big Sisters also works closely with First Nations or the Aboriginal community.
We do. We're not as closely as we would like. We're definitely wanting to further the work that we're doing, in terms of reconciliation, working with our local First Nations partners here in the community and throughout the region. We are in conversations now with the 5 nations out in the Hazelton area, around developing some programming specific to that region.
Right.
We have had the opportunity to work with Claytlay on a couple of events. They were quite supportive of Pink Shirt Day as you are.
Yeah.
We are looking at how we can work with Claytlay, with the Simp Nation out in Valemount, with the many nations of northern BC, to meet the needs and demand that they're seeing in their communities, as all communities throughout the north. There's a high demand for youth programming, and we just want to make sure that we're meeting the needs of each specific region.
Yeah, excellent. And then the other thing I wanted to talk to you a little bit about is the Pink Shirt Day in particular, because we are one of your main sponsors for that this year. I believe it's on the 27th of February.
February 23rd.
23rd. Yeah. And tell us a little bit about that.
So Pink Shirt Day is actually we can't take credit for Pink Shirt Day. Pink Shirt Day started out in Nova Scotia, and it was an initiative of youth advocating for youth.
Yeah.
So it started because there was a boy who wore a pink shirt to school.
Yeah.
And he was made fun of. And kids gave him a hard time that, boys don't wear pink. And there was a group of other boys in the school who was like, hey, that's not okay.
Yeah.
And the next day there was, a mass number of boys from that school who all showed up in pink.
Yeah.
To say, hey, you know what? We got your back.
Yeah.
And it's continued to grow since then. That was 2007. In 2013, Big Brothers Big Sisters of Canada released a study in conjunction with the Canadian Centre for Addictions and Mental Health.
Yeah.
That it was a 5-year study that looked at a whole bunch of benefits of mentoring.
Yeah.
But one of the things that they talked about was the role mentoring plays in not only supporting those children who may be being bullied, but also how mentoring can work with children who may actually be the ones who are doing the bullying, and can help correct and change that behavior in a proactive way.
Correct.
So in 2013, we decided we need to get involved and show our support for Pink Shirt Day.
Yeah.
And it initially just started with us all buying our own pink shirts.
Yeah.
And, just trying to do what we can to raise awareness of Pink Shirt Day in Prince George.
Yeah.
Following that year, we had numerous calls at our office. We were approached by Save On and they said, we bought pink shirts for all of our staff. We saw that you were doing Pink Shirt Day things. People have been asking us to buy pink shirts. Have you ever thought about selling yours?
Yeah.
And we hummed and hawed about it, and we said, okay, let's try it.
Yeah.
One of those crazy ideas I spoke about earlier.
Yeah.
And we sold pink shirts out of Save On Foods.
Yeah.
And it just has continued to grow where last year this year we're hoping to sell upwards of 1,000 pink shirts.
Wow.
And we are working on, there's a lot of other things that businesses have now stepped up to. How can we raise money for Pink Shirt Day in addition to just selling shirts?
Yeah.
So Blissful Bubbles, which is they sell soaps and bath bombs and those types of supplies.
Yeah.
They're selling pink bath bombs on the day. Tim Hortons usually does a pink donut.
Yeah.
There's Rocky Mountain Chocolate did pink candied apples. So businesses are now selling pink products to help raise money. And this year we're hoping to raise $25,000 towards through the sale of pink shirts and
Very
those
significant.
other a big chunk of money.
Yeah.
Which is then going to help us continue to support all of these proactive mentoring programs that we run here in the community.
Yeah, very interesting, and not unsimilar to the Orange Shirt Day.
Orange Shirt Day is another, and again, we it's another very important cause that we support. We also, for us, it's we know that the Y in supporting the Orange Door Society. Was selling pink shirts, and we made sure whether it was some did them purchase down at Pepper Tree and some through the YMCA. It was another incredibly important cause, and as we, this year we were as a staff, we're down at the park on September 30th for National Truth and Reconciliation Day.
And and it was nice to see because we were quite involved in in. I don't know how many shirts we got, number of thousands anyway, and and it was somewhat interesting because it was the Truth and Reconciliation Day, September the 30th, and we had somebody sent down to the park, so I was going to go down there with my team and do a presentation, and then we were going to hand out the shirts, and then the person that was kind of unpacking the car by herself, sweet lady, but everybody kind of stormed her, and before she knew it, all the shirts were gone. And and it was kind of interesting to see, and see that whole field in front of us, with so many orange shirts.
And it's just incredibly heartwarming to see the fact that as a community, we can start having those conversations around reconciliation, and we can
so important.
We can, like, I even think about in my other life that we haven't talked about. I've been on the school board for the last 10 years.
Yeah, and we want to talk about that as well.
Perfect.
So we did it once more with the orange shirts, and then was Canada Day, and again something similar occurred then, and it was just like you said, so important to see it because it recognized. Pink shirts recognizes certain things particular that are important, anti-bullying and the bullying, and then the other one, truth and reconciliation. All those things are critically important. The one thing that we have to talk about more with you is in your interesting career is I believe you were the youngest in the province to be elected to the school board.
Yeah, I was either. I think I was fairly close. Since then, we've had some districts that have elected definitely younger than I was at the time.
But not then.
I was probably one of the youngest.
Yeah. How old were you then?
I was 24.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, 24.
Okay.
2011.
Yeah.
And, for me, it was, I kind of ran without the assumption that I was going to win. Like, it was... I was angry about, so in 2010 in Prince George, we had 24 schools that were either, or
closings, right?
Yeah, between 2001 and 2011, we had 24 schools that closed in Prince George.
Yeah.
And I was an active volleyball coach at Lakewood Junior.
Right.
And I was a Lakewood Junior alumni. I went back, I coached for many years. And I was really angry at the fact that they were closing the school.
Well, exactly.
And I spoke at school closure meetings. I was just really involved in the trying to save Lakewood.
Yeah.
And then the school closed.
Yeah.
And I was mad at the process.
Yeah.
And I felt that things could have been done differently.
Yeah.
So when the school board election came up, I said, let's
walk the talk.
Yeah. If I'm going to sit and complain, I at least should try to
be part of
the solution.
Correct.
So I ran. I was one of 21 candidates who ran in 2011.
How many on the board?
7.
So you had 1 in 3 chances.
1 in 3 essentially.
Yeah.
And was very fortunate to be elected.
Yeah.
And I will say, it. And the funny thing is because, as much as I wanted the position, I wasn't going in necessarily with the expectation of winning my first time.
Right.
And I So I wasn't nervous during the campaign. I think the most nervous I ever was.
You had nothing to lose.
Yeah, I was more nervous driving to the board office that first night to be sworn in.
Yeah.
And I remember driving there, and my wife actually, I joked that she went on our honeymoon without me. Her and her friends, basically the day after the election was done, they went to Europe for a month.
Oh my.
So I'm driving to the inaugural with my mom, and I'm just like, I'm a nervous wreck. Like, like, what have I gotten myself into? And since then, I've been very fortunate to be reelected by the community. And had the opportunity to serve as board chair from 2016 to 2020. And then as well, I'm currently serving as a director on the BC School Trustees Association. So we're an association.
That's a provincial.
So that's a provincial organization that represents the 60 boards of education. And we act as kind of the liaison between the ministry and boards of education. So it's been really interesting through COVID to be seeing, that provincial level work happen as well. And
all on Zoom?
Virtual? A lot of it's virtual. We had a short period there where we could travel. So I'm down and back to Vancouver a bit. But it has been, as I said, it's been a crazy journey, and I've been very fortunate to have the trust of the community to do that. And as I brought it up earlier when we were talking about the orange shirt, is, it wasn't that long ago that there was quite a conversation in the community around what turned out to be, we ended up dual naming the new Kelly Road building to Shasti Kelly Road. And there was a lot of conversation around, and it didn't necessarily always paint our community in the greatest light during that conversation, but the fact that 2 years later as a community, we can have more of an open conversation about the history of our area and what is happening with reconciliation. And I look at the incredible work that Wes and Ivan and the team who is drumming at the hospital Monday night, and there's the fact that our community is able to start having these conversations and realizing that things need to change is really powerful. And that's the power of Orange Shirt and Pink Shirt Day. Is we hear quite often, what is wearing your shirt one day going to do?
Exactly.
But at the same point, it's to bring awareness forward so that the conversations can happen 365 days a year.
Exactly.
And there's one day that we remind people the importance of it.
And how do you bring them all together? Like Wes and Ivan have been very, very vocal about it. Obviously, they are members of the Clayton HNA band and are extremely proactive and during the whole COVID pandemic, they virtually pretty much all Monday evenings, they are at the hospital, come rain or shine or cold or heat, and playing the drums in appreciation for those that are, in the medical community and paying homage to them, and I've seen, more and more of that, and usually if something is happening where it brings Aboriginal and First Nations together with other things that are happening in the community, Wes and Ivan are there a lot of times, So
they are, and I mean they have really shown what community leaders they are, because they if you and I have to say I've not had the opportunity to go Monday night. Part of that is just with family commitments, Monday nights is a tough night, and I hope to be able to make it out more in the coming weeks and months.
I was honored with getting a drum set from them, and I've been to a couple of them at Monday night, and then I've had several occasions. September 30 is being one, the Aboriginal national holiday, of playing the drums with them, and the same on Canada Day actually, and I very much enjoyed them, and I've been very close to around the First Nations communities, not only here but also in the Yukon, where I was located for about 5 years, and so it's amazing history, and to see all of this become, including the not so good parts in terms of hence truth and reconciliation periods. I believe it is healthy for everybody to know the history and partake in recognizing it.
I had a colleague who I served on as a trustee with, who always, he was very clear to talk about the fact that until you can't have reconciliation until you have truth.
Exactly.
And I look at the work that Ivan and Wes are doing, and me personally, like I never self-identified as Indigenous growing up. It wasn't a conversation in my household.
No.
It wasn't until the last few years where I've started my own journey to learn.
Yeah.
My mom's from the Canam Lake Indian band down in the Shuswap Nation.
Yeah.
And it's only been within the last couple of years that I've even started learning my own history and
being proud of it.
And being proud of it.
Yeah.
And I look at,
not ashamed.
Yeah. And I look at my kids who, my oldest son is in grade 4, and he's part of the drum group at school, and he's learning more, like he's learning his culture at the same time I'm learning mine, and
amazing.
It's amazing. And I'm just so glad that I can be on this journey with my kids as well.
Yeah, at this time in particular, right? So if I look at Tim Bennett and I say, my God, this young fellow, relatively speaking to me, you did already so many things, in the different areas, and obviously having had a challenging upbringing and being so aware of all the things in terms of what brought you to Big Sisters and Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and then your involvement again because of challenges that you saw there with the school board, and became virtually one of the youngest ones, at least then, to be elected on the school board and walking the talk. And then, so what's Tim Bennett going to do next?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, if I'm not already busy enough, I'm working on my MBA right now. Out of the University of Fredericton, doing it online with a focus on social enterprising, which has been a great journey. I'm going to have to make up a decision soon with the municipal election coming up in October, if I have another term of school board left in me, or what my future may hold. And with that, I think for me, we have a really exciting year ahead at Big Brothers Big Sisters. I have an incredible team who, makes going to work fun and enjoyable each day. So I'm just waiting to see where life takes me this year and have some decisions to make in the near future.
So I've been around the Prince George area for nearly 57 years, I think. I came here in 1965 when I was 24, and couldn't speak the language, didn't know a soul, at $25.47, no job. And, and I love the area, I love the opportunity, and Prince George and the region in BC and Canada has been good to me. And at the same time, I've been very proactive in a lot of areas, as you well know. And I kind of look at Tim Bennett and I say to myself, what's next then in my mind potentially? Because a lot of people that are proactive like you are in the community for all the right reasons. Hence your involvement in Big Brothers, Big Sisters, the next one, school board. Isn't city council one of the next steps potentially? I'm not trying to get in, but I'm just kind of working together here.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of people see that loop. I don't necessarily, when we look at the school district, it's a very different organization. But
a lot of times, though,
a lot of people make that
Len
jump.
Hall came through that and was the chair, in fact, of the school board, same as you were, and then became the mayor and ran first for the council, I believe. Yeah. And that usually is one track that a lot of people follow.
I would never rule out a run.
Right.
It's
in November, so you can't wait long if you're thinking.
No, October.
I'm just
papers due in September. But as I say, like the school district and
I'm giving you a little bit of a hard time.
No, I good, and you know what? I've heard it a few times, and but I guess where I was going with that is I try not to look at it as the school district's a stepping stone. We're about the same operating budget. The school district has 2,000 employees. We have almost 40 schools. We're 5 hours point to point because our district stretches from Valemount to Mackenzie.
Yeah.
And we work with almost 13,100 students in the district.
Pretty significant.
We're a big district. We're the second largest geographical size district.
Yeah.
The city just deals in different challenges.
Yeah.
So as I said, I would never rule out that opportunity down the road. I don't know if that's coming in October or 4 years from now or 8 years from now. But I would be lying if I said that at some points I haven't thought about a new opportunity or challenge.
Now, if you did an inventory of yourself and saying, okay, it's been a tough go and during certain periods of life, you've obviously done extremely well in a lot of areas that were very important to you and have succeeded in virtually every step that you took. And then kind of look back and saying, if I look at you in terms of where your strengths are, you're a good and effective communicator, which is extremely important. I always say to young people, and I feel the same as you do, I've been involved even now in a lot of cases with young persons in particular. I do a lot of public speaking and, am involved in numerous areas where, I did presentations for UNBC, University of Northern British Columbia, their MBA class for quite a number of years. And obviously, I'm also an alumni of UNBC because I had the honor of being awarded the doctorates of laws by University of British Columbia. But I always communicate to young persons, but also other persons that as they pursue and look at their career going forward, what are the most important parts? Is I believe that being an effective communicator is extremely important. I'm not so sure that we always do as well on that in our training or education side as they could. The lucky part that I had, I was not very good at communication. In fact, I had real issues with it personally. Not feeling good about myself and in settings of more than 2 or 3 people, even not when I already, in the views of many, thought that I was very successful. I had this lumber company in the early 80s, was not the same size as it is today, but much smaller then, but thought that I was extremely successful but I didn't feel that way about it, and I kind of felt it kind of as a failure. And, then by pure coincidence, somebody got me to go to a meeting of Toastmasters. And they virtually had to drag me down there and I had them absolutely guarantee me that they would not ask me any questions. And they said they would, and the only thing they did then, they asked me to stand up and tell everybody who I was. That to me already was too much, and I was not going to go back. And then somehow I went back the following week or 2 weeks later, and again with a struggle. And from there on in, I stayed there for 10 years.
Wow. And
then from that, I became probably one of the most active public speakers, maybe even in the province, and and it made a giant difference in my life. hence I couldn't do this. There was no way in the world that I could do this.
Yeah.
But the other thing that it did is that what did it do for me in Toastmasters? Sometimes I talk a little bit about Toastmasters here because I think it is important, because you have the same passion for young people as they pursue their careers and the reason why and how and mentoring, and that's kind of what I'm doing here, is that, that what Toastmasters did for me is not only making me an effective speaker, but more importantly, made me a good listener. Because, that in combination with then being able to think on your feet, as difficult circumstances sometimes happen, where you have to be clear in your mind in terms of how to articulate questions or answers or reply, but gaining that confidence of an individual or young people in particular as they go forward, find your passion. But if we were sitting in our office, my office here, then I would say to you, Tim, look at the wall there and see what is on that plaque. And you would look at it and you would say, 2547. What does that mean? Well, 2547 is about 2 blocks from here, is the Greyhound station that was here in 1965 when I arrived with my 1 suitcase, 1 set of clothes, 3 books, couldn't speak the language, didn't know a soul, didn't know I have any family here whatsoever, but I had a dream. And the dream was to build my own lumber mill. And I counted my money 3 times at least, and I had $25.47. And then, and then from there, and then for me, the journey started. Again, coming out of challenging circumstances, because I was born on November the 1st, 1940, and I was 5, and we were liberated from, the occupation of the army. And people always say, what do you remember of that period? Well, I remember, that hunger, for one, and then cold, because it was the winter 1944 and 1945 was an extreme, the hunger winter, they refer to it. And we had a little stove, and just my mom, because my dad was lost in the war, although he came back after, but for 5 years he was not there. And then the other one was anxiety or hearing planes overhead. With that kind of a background of PTSD, the inner child, and then my dream was coming to Canada and building my dream. That's kind of a background that didn't give me the confidence to necessarily do what I had to do. Toastmasters was the main thing. And then the other thing I wanted to mention to you, and then what I did, and it took me 80 years to live it, 20 years to think about it, in 2 years I wrote a book.
Excellent.
Have you seen it?
I've seen it. I've not had a chance to read it yet.
I'm going to give you one, and I'm going to sign it for you.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, and so I'm going to do that right this instant, actually. So I say to Tim, all the best. I'm going to sign it, put my name underneath it. Now, the interesting part about this book, as I said, it took me, it's the first one, it's an autobiography. And, well,
thank you.
I'll give you the book. And so it took me 80 years to live it, and then 20 years to think about it, and then 2 years to write it. And it had to be, because you cannot do an autobiography twice.
Yeah, you only get one chance at that, right?
Only one chance. So we did the best that we could. And so then last week we got, the request from a very well-known individual, and it was Richard Branson.
I saw that on Facebook.
See that?
That's exciting.
Requested a copy of my book. Can you believe it?
That is incredible.
Yeah, and so that I also believe that, and I'm not advertising here. Now, the other thing that I want you to do is, you have the book is for free, but tell me how much it costs if you look at the back.
$25.47.
Why?
Oh, there we go.
There's the connection.
There's the connection.
So I believe that at some point this book will become a movie. You know, of and as you read it, I'd like you to tell me what you thought about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it was exciting for me to have you as a guest.
Well, thank you for the opportunity.
There are so many things that we have in common, and I'm impressed with where you've been and how you are proceeding through your life, and obviously now I'm kind of seeing you from here and then going forward, and I hope you stay in touch, and and I'll probably at some point interview you again.
Sounds great. Awesome. Thanks
so much,
for having
Sean.
you.